Zikas from YoChicago. I'm at Seminary in Armitage today, about to do a block walk of the 2000 block of Seminary. One of my all-time favorite blocks in the city of Chicago. It's a favorite in part because I gutted and rehabbed the building we're looking at that spans from Seminary east to Kenmore and wraps around on Kenmore. From a 50-unit apartment building into a 36-unit condo building. Began that in 1979 and sold the last of my units there in 1985-86. Across the street at the time, the building on the corner was Palazzolo's grocery store. Run by Pete Palazzolo and his son and his daughter. Pete and his wife and daughter Mary Ann lived in one of the back units and they rented out the front units. Pete was famous for running a tab for a number of the older ladies, I should say, who lived in the neighborhood and really couldn't afford to buy food. So Pete ran a perpetual tab for them and was in effect a little welfare agency all his own. When I first moved over to the neighborhood in 1978, the Armitage L stop, which you can see in the distance, had a gang selling drugs underneath it, and a number of the buildings around the L stop were pretty much gang headquarters. And there was a bar where the druggos hung out, almost right underneath the L stop. Sometime in 1979, the Chicago Police Department came in like an occupying army and wiped out all the toughest elements in the neighborhood and really stabilized the entire area. Here's a simple sign in front of St. Teresa's Church that speaks volumes about the changes in the neighborhood. When I first moved over here, the sign would have been in Spanish only. Now it's only in English. One of the great charms of the neighborhood when I first moved over here was the diversity of the people who lived here, both in income, ethnicity, demographics, life experience, whatever. The 3-flat on the corner at the time was owned by a young female legal aid lawyer. And the graystone that I'm walking toward had been acquired by one of my neighbors who paid $19,000 for it in the mid-70s. Let's take a look at that and see if you can envision the possibility of buying a graystone like this, which is huge, lengthy, for $19,000, but that was the price. The lush parkway greenery that you see now was non-existent when I first moved over here. And the Victorian frame home that you're looking at here was Mrs. O'Neill's home. Mrs. O'Neill was in her 90s when I first moved here. She, as a young girl, remembered having attended the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. She had also been at one time personal secretary to Bathhouse John Conklin, a Chicago political legend. 2 doors north was Lynn, who was a real estate broker, and it was kind of the glue who held the block together. Lynn organized the neighbors to make a project out of Mrs. O'Neill, who was really unable to take care of herself in any way, although she was mentally alert. The neighbors chipped paint, repainted, shoveled her sidewalk, kept her porch clean, did household repairs, took her grocery shopping, and drove her to her doctor's appointments. Whatever it took. She really had no living relatives at that point. The block took care of her. The beautiful brownstone you're looking at now sits on 2.5 lots. When we moved here and when we left, it was the Shinnick home. The Shinnicks were only the second family to own this home in its entire history. It had 18 rooms at the time, a ton of stained glass, and a lot of beautiful ornate woodwork detailing multiple fireplaces. And the Shinnick family owned and ran the grocery store just around the corner at Armitage and Bissell. Two of the sons worked in the business with their dad. One was a pharmacist and one worked at the counter. Swing north to look at the Shinnick home. They really called it the Shinnick Mansion at the time from the north. They had beautiful gardens, beautiful plantings. And you can get some idea of the size of the home from here. The home you're looking at now is new construction. It's built on a lot and a half. It was owned by my neighbors, my direct neighbors, Terry and Diane, when it was a two-flat, and Terry and Diane lived in both units. They were a university professor and an Encyclopedia Britannica editor. One of the interesting things, they kept a pack of bloodhounds in the backyard. I think there were about 5 of them. And one of them had been abused as a puppy and had a definite racist streak. Whenever a black or a Latino person walked down the alley, he would start howling and all the rest of the hounds would start howling along with him.